Okay, today we're going to talk about a very special transform in terms of the Dirichlet series, and that is the Mellin transform. And this has a lot of other applications as well, but very important here for the Dirichlet series. So the Mellin transform of some function f is given by this integral transformation. The Mellin transform kernel is simply beta to the s minus 1, and then integrated from 0 to infinity. A very special Mellin transform is that of e to the minus beta. And if we stick that in here, we get the integral expression for the gamma function. So sort of the core central Mellin transform, that of a decaying exponential, is the gamma function. So this gives us an integral form for that gamma function. Well, let's generalize this just a slight bit, and instead let's consider f equals e to the minus n beta, and let's take the Mellin transform of that. So we have an extra n in here. So we anticipate a gamma coming out, and with change of variables, it does so, and we get gamma to the s divided by n to the s. So we're starting to look like we might get close to a Dirichlet series. And then let's now take a sum of e to the minus n beta and from 1 to infinity to start matching that sum range of the Dirichlet series. We take the Mellin transform of that. Well, that's just going to be plugged in here. We're going to switch the order of integration and summation. And so then we simply get the sum of this over all the possible n values. Well, this is a Dirichlet series with every coefficient being the gamma, so we can pull that out actually, and then we can write that as gamma s zeta s. And so if we divide back over by the gamma, we now have an integral representation of the zeta function as 1 over gamma, then the integral of this. Now, when we look at this, it really screams at us partition function from statistical mechanics. So let's imagine we have a partition function, and we'll call that capital Q here, and this will sum over the energy states of the degeneracy times e to the minus en beta, and now beta will be interpreted as 1 over kT, so that's where temperature would come in, but we'll just leave it as beta here throughout. Okay, so now we take the Mellin transform of big Q, very similar to this, except a couple of changes. We have the degeneracy term just coming along for the ride. And now instead of an n, we have en. So it's en to the s. This need not necessarily be a counting number like n. So this generalizes this a bit. And it actually has the name, it goes by the Spectral Dirichlet series. And the spectral is coming from, in this case, the spectrum, the energy spectrum, but in more general, the spectrum to some sort of eigenvalue equation. Okay, so we have this version. We're going to put a little e here as a subscript on the Dirichlet symbol, and we define the spectral Dirichlet series as 1 to infinity, some Dirichlet coefficients, and then e to the s. So this is going to be just gamma times the spectral Dirichlet series. And so a lot of work is done just on the spectral Dirichlet series just because of this kind of trivial behavior of this gamma out front. Okay, well, if the coefficients are 1, then we have something that looks very similar to the zeta function. And this is called the spectral zeta function. And we'll again have this symbol e here to remind us that that is the spectral zeta function. All right, well, let's do a few fun examples here. Let's look at the particle in a box. And we know the energy level for the particle in a box is n squared h squared over 8ma squared. But let's work in units such that h squared over 8ma squared is 1. And then our energy is simply E n is just n squared. And we know that the degeneracy for the particle in a box is 1, and the quantum numbers range 1, 2, 3, 4 up. So it sets up very nicely for a potential spectral or actual Dirichlet series. So let's write our partition function. Again, degeneracy is 1. Here's our energy up here. And we write our spectral zeta function then. It's going to be a zeta function right away because our degeneracy is 1. And notice then it's 1 over n squared. So this would be n squared to the s. But that's just n to the 2s. And so it is equal to the actual zeta function scaled by a factor of 2. All right, well, let's go to a 2D particle in a box. And now there is degeneracy. So in working in these units, we have now dependence on 2 separate quantum numbers, each range from 1 to infinity. So we have a quantum number in the x direction, y direction for this 2D particle in a box. The degeneracy is such that whatever the solutions to x squared plus y squared equals a constant are, so how does those break down for each energy level? So certainly like 1, 3, and 3, 1 would be degenerate, but you might get other combinations in there as well. We can write the Dirichlet series like this now, and we have a sum over both quantum numbers. That's being indicated there. And this is called the Epstein Dirichlet series. So you see another generalization of the Dirichlet coming out, appearing in this problem. The general form of the Epstein Dirichlet series depends on this quadratic form, Q. And so in its most general form, it's ax squared plus bxy plus c y squared. This quadratic expression has a discriminant, and it's b squared minus 4ac as normal. And this is needs to be negative for the Epstein Dirichlet series. For our case, we have no b term, and we have a is 1, c is 1, so we have minus 4 there, so that satisfies that. All right, let's do one last model, the harmonic oscillator. And now we have e to the n equals h bar omega n plus 1/2. Let's again work in units where h bar omega is 1, then e to the n is n plus 1/2. Degeneracy is 1, and now the quantum numbers for the harmonic oscillator, that starts at 0, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way up, according to the allowed quantum numbers. So let's write our spectral zeta function. Again, it will be a zeta function because degeneracy is 1 here. So we have 1 over n plus 1/2. So it's kind of shifted. It's a shifted compared to the zeta function. And it also starts with n equals 0 instead of n equals 1. Well, this is a generalized function, a zeta function. This is called the Hurwitz zeta function. And we usually give the symbol zeta, but s comma alpha, and alpha is that little shift. So for the case of the harmonic oscillator, we have a Hurwitz zeta with alpha equaling 1/2. Let's look at a special case of the special case where alpha is equal to 1. In this case, we have 1 over n plus 1 raised to the s, ranging from 0 to infinity. Well, let's just make a rescaling of that n, and let's call n plus 1 n. Well, now the bottom limit 0 goes to 1, and so we recover the zeta function. So the Hurwitz zeta function matches the zeta function when alpha is equal to 1. All right, so this brought out a couple of different examples, kind of connected to some statistical mechanics with some quantum mechanical models, particle in a box, harmonic oscillator. And so next time we're gonna push this a little bit, and we're gonna make up some crazy quantum model based on some of the Dirichlet series we saw, or one of the Dirichlet series we saw earlier, and kind of push that through some statistical mechanics with that.